Well, Cobra Tate, the top G goes back onto Patrick Bet David's podcast, talks about many things. He did a 4.5 hour interview on there. But the main thing I want to talk about this morning is he said in the past before, he is a man of God. He is on a mission from God. And then he drops some theological views on his view of God here. Let's listen real quick.
Yeah, and I truly, and I want to make one more point. I do believe there is one God, and I believe there's many different paths to God. And I'm not a religious scholar, and I'm not an expert on Islam. I'm doing my best, and I'm reading the Quran as often as I can. And it does say that Christians on the day of reckoning will see how close they were to the truth. And we are allies. We are not enemies in any regard, Christians and Muslims. And I do believe that the idea of Christians and Muslims shaking hands and saying, let's put an end to a lot of this garbage would be fantastic. I'm not anti-Christian in any regard.
Cobra Tate says, hey, there's one God and there's many paths to God. Whoa. Hold on a second here. Now, I don't believe any, he says he is a Muslim now. I don't believe any credible Muslim person would say there are many paths to God. I'm pretty sure there's not many paths. Now, I'm not a Muslim, but I am a amateur theologian on Christianity, and there is not many paths to God. How do we know that? Now, this is a good question. How do we know there's not many paths to God? At the Last Supper, Jesus was sitting with his disciples. You remember the story. Sitting with the disciples, John 14, and Jesus tells the disciples, hey, I am going to go away, and I'm going to prepare a place to you, and you know the place that I am going. And you know the disciples, they didn't know what he was talking about. They didn't know what he was talking about half the time. And the disciples said, huh? And so Thomas, doubting Thomas, he's still scratching his head, and he says in John chapter 14, he says, Jesus, we don't know the way to where you're going. And Jesus, John 14:6 says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except through me, right? Philip's sitting there, right? Philip was a little smarter, and he says, Jesus, why don't you show us the Father, and that will be enough for us to know the way. Show us the Father. And you remember the passage, John 14, verse 9. Jesus says here, anyone who's seen me has seen the Father. Wow, what a statement. Now, Cobra Tate's got to learn that. He's got to learn. I know he's on a journey. He's on a path. But when he says, well, there's many ways to God, I said, what? I'm pretty sure no Muslim would say that. Certainly no Christian would say there's many paths to God, unless they're a complete idiot, based on what Jesus specifically told us here. In fact, Jesus said in John chapter 8 that if you listen to me, then you know the Father. You know the Father. John chapter 8, Jesus said to them, if God were your Father, you would love me, for I came from God, and now I'm here. He says, why is my language not clear to you? Why is it not clear to you? Because you are unable to hear what I say. You belong to your father, the devil. Wow. What? If you don't listen to the words of Jesus, this is coming from Jesus. If you don't listen to his words, it's because you are of your father, the devil. Wow. What a divisive statement. Are there many paths to God? Cobra Tate is incorrect. He is incorrect. That is not what Jesus taught. Hey, if you're liking this content, give me a like, subscribe, give me a comment below. This is pretty divisive. And Jesus was a divisive guy. He was gentle, but he was full of truth. And he said, I am truth. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except through me. That's the word for today. Christ is winning. He is building his church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Until next time, this is the Postmillennial Man.